Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're taking a visual journey through this absolutely fascinating intersection of human achievement, cutting-edge technology, and, well, modern sports culture. Today, we're unpacking a really passionate reflection piece written by Coach Adolfo Salgueiro over at the blog fulltips.run. He offers this deep dive into two massive, earth-shattering events that just shook the running world to its core: the shattering of a monumental time barrier and a highly controversial marketing misstep. So let's break down his arguments, explore the data, and see what this all actually means for the future of running.
Right off the bat, this is the big question. What actually happens to a sport when its most mythical barrier finally falls? Coach Salgueiro wrote his article a mere 36 hours after history was made. We are talking, of course, about the 2026 London Marathon, where elite runner Sebastian Salgueiro did what was literally once considered physically impossible. He officially broke the 2-hour marathon barrier in an open competition. It's a complete paradigm-shifting moment, and it forces all of us to totally reevaluate the limits of human endurance.
Section 1. The Sub-2 Marathon.
Now, to truly grasp the sheer weight of this achievement, we kind of have to see how it built up historically. When Coach Salgueiro ran his very first marathon back in 1983, the world record was sitting at 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 34 seconds, which was set way back in 1969 by Derek Clayton. For decades, the record just crept down by these tiny, agonizing seconds. But then, things accelerated. In 2019, Nike staged this heavily controlled event where Eliud Kipchoge ran a 1:59:40. Now, as the coach points out, that wasn't an official race, but it did something absolutely crucial. It proved to the world that a sub-2-hour marathon was physiologically possible. It paved the mental and physical runway for what we just witnessed in 2026, with Sebastian Salgueiro delivering an official sub-2-hour victory right on the streets of London.
Moving on to Section 2, the Super Shoe Debate.
Because, whenever an impossible record is shattered these days, the immediate inevitable question is, was it the super shoes? There is a very vocal, purist argument within the running community suggesting that these modern shoes, which essentially act like carbon-plated springs, kind of rendered these new records meaningless. And interestingly, as a self-proclaimed purist himself, Coach Salgueiro admits he'd actually love to think that way too. So the crucial point is
that progress and innovation are just intrinsic to sports. You can't separate them. The coach brilliantly outlines this with a few really vivid comparisons. Just imagine for a second if we completely rejected all technological progress in athletics. Formula One races would literally be held on horseback. The Tour de France would be ridden on these incredibly heavy iron bikes with absolutely no gears. And marathoners, they'd still be pounding the pavement in stiff, heavy leather shoes. Now, obviously, regulatory entities exist to ensure basic conditions are met, so it isn't just a total free-for-all, but adaptation to new technology, that's just the reality of human progress.
But what's really interesting here is how the author grounds this elite achievement right back into our daily reality. He stresses a very humbling truth for the rest of us. Dropping $500 on a pair of Nike Super Shoes is absolutely not going to turn you or me into a world record contender. Sebastian Salgueiro and his peers were already the greatest runners the world has ever seen long before they laced up at that start line. The shoes merely provide that tiny, necessary edge to pull what is physiologically possible right into reality. Which brings us to Section 3, the Bannister Effect.
See, technology is really only half the equation. The other half is entirely psychological. Take the number 1700, for example. To understand the Sub-2 Marathon, the coach points all the way back to May 1954, when Roger Bannister ran the very first sub-4-minute mile. Get this, at the time, doctors literally thought the human heart might explode if you ran that fast. But once Bannister proved it was possible, his record was broken just 6 weeks later. Fast forward to today, and over 1,700 runners have achieved that exact same feat. The physical bodies of humans didn't magically evolve overnight in 1954, right? What changed was the total removal of a massive mental block.
And the coach applies this phenomenal space analogy to illustrate what happens next in the marathon world. Sebastian Salgueiro is the Neil Armstrong of the Sub-2 Marathon. He's the pioneer. He did it first. But check this out. Eliud Kipchoge also ran under 2 hours in that exact same London race, finishing a mere 11 seconds behind Salgueiro. It's a staggering achievement, but as the author neutrally notes, Kipchoge will forever be remembered as the Buzz Aldrin of the Sub-2. He was right there, but, he wasn't first.
Because that mental barrier is totally gone now, Coach Salgueiro confidently makes this bold prediction. We are going to see 5 to 10 runners under the 2-hour mark by the end of 2027. Think about that. The Sub-2 is no longer this unbeatable, mythical record. It is simply a new benchmark.
He expects this time to fall again, shortly and often. Especially at notoriously fast courses like Valencia or Chicago, the floodgates are officially open.
Now, shifting gears a bit, Section 4, the Boston sign controversy.
While the sport is busy pushing these incredible boundaries on the racecourse, it's also wrestling with its own culture off the course. Reflecting on recent marathon majors, the author pivots to a pretty fiery controversy that unfolded at the Boston Marathon. Nike, the exact same company pushing the boundaries of shoe technology, set up this massive sign during Marathon Week that read, "Runners welcome, walkers tolerated." Well, this messaging sparked severe and immediate backlash from the running community. People labeled it highly insensitive, and Nike had to quickly take it down.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why the coach and the broader community found the sign so incredibly ignorant. Walking isn't just something for beginners. It is a perfectly valid, highly tactical part of elite running. Look at Orlando Pizzolato. He won the 1984 New York City Marathon, and guess what? He walked during it. Galindo Borden won an Olympic gold medal in the marathon in 1988, and he also slowed down and walked. There are literally no race rules that state you cannot walk. As the author bluntly puts it, if you want to walk, walk, and completely ignore what some corporate sign has to say about it.
Which leads us to our final point, Section 5, action over outrage.
You see, the author's ultimate critique isn't actually aimed at Nike at all, but at how we, the public, tend to react. Coach Salgueiro neutrally unpacks this deep frustration with modern outrage culture. He points out that many of the most vocal critics online, the people he terms offended professionals, had absolutely no actual stake in running, the Boston Marathon, or Nike. They were just engaging in digital outrage for a quick sense of moral superiority. He draws a really sharp contrast between simply complaining on Instagram versus taking tangible, real-world action. For instance, he cites a personal friend who is genuinely offended by the sign, and in response, she immediately sold her Nike stock. She didn't just pout online, she took a real financial stand.
Which brings us to the coach's very direct, no-nonsense bottom line. Feel offended? Act or shut up. He reminds readers that the First Amendment entirely protects a company's right to make insensitive or poorly thought-out statements. If consumers are truly upset by a brand's culture, they have the ultimate power to just stop buying their products or to literally show up and picket their headquarters. But passive, digital complaining? That simply does not equal action.
Honestly, it's such a powerful way to wrap up a reflection that covers both the highest highs and the messier cultural realities of the sport. The world of running is evolving faster than ever before. We are literally witnessing impossible athletic barriers falling before our eyes, fueled by both this incredible human spirit and, yes, controversial technology. But at the exact same time, the culture surrounding the sport is becoming louder and much more reactive. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. As these barriers fall and controversies rise, how will you choose to engage with the sport? Will you just sit back and watch, or will you take action? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.